The murders of Monique and Spencer Tepe shattered an Ohio neighborhood and left two young children without parents. The couple was found shot to death in their bedroom after Spencer failed to show up for work, prompting frantic 911 calls and a welfare check. Investigators quickly ruled out a murder-suicide, noting no weapon was found inside the home. For weeks, the case haunted the community with more questions than answers. Then came a stunning development. Police arrested Monique's ex-husband, Dr. Michael McKee, accusing him of carrying out the execution-style killings. Their divorce was finalized in 2017, and everyone is asking, why would he allegedly kill her so many years later? Tonight, new disturbing details about the short marriage of Monique and McKee. But first, the Virginia trial of Brendan Banfield, a former IRS special agent, centers on an alleged murder plot prosecutors describe as calculated and grotesque. Banfield is charged with aggravated murder in the February 2023 killings of his wife, Christine, and Joseph Ryan inside their Herndon, Virginia home. Prosecutors allege Banfield orchestrated the killings to conceal his affair with the family's Brazilian au pair, Juliana Magalhães. They say Banfield impersonated his wife on a fetish website, luring Joseph Ryan to the home under the guise of a sexual encounter. According to Magalhães' testimony, Banfield shot Ryan and stabbed Christine while staging the scene as a home invasion. Banfield is facing life behind bars and has pleaded not guilty, and today's surveillance video from the morning of the shootings was shown in court, and tonight you will see it. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments as we continue to experience this case out of Virginia involving the au pair, the former IRS agent, and the two victims in the case. Well, the au pair testified, and her testimony is done. Perhaps right now she is doing some paperwork and perhaps on her way to being deported back to Brazil. Because that's what the deal was. Come into court, testify, you get time served, and then we believe, of course, she'll be tossed out of the country, being a convicted involuntary manslaughterer. Because that's the deal she got. It was a sweetheart deal. We know that. Time served, sweetheart deal. But her testimony is done, and the question now is, will the jury believe her? The jury who is deciding whether or not the husband, Brendan Banfield, is in fact responsible for the murder of his wife and the man he allegedly lured over to their house, Joseph Ryan. Now, of course, Brendan Banfield, the man on trial, is saying that she is lying. Now, she wasn't lying when she was in the hot tub with him. Like, that part is all true, right? They've admitted this affair. But what he is not admitting is that he had anything to do with the death of his wife. He is saying that she is lying about that. Why is she lying? Because of the sweetheart deal. Because she was tired of being locked up, didn't want uncertainty, and was convinced by investigators and prosecutors to tell the story that she told. But he's saying that's not true. So the challenge here for prosecutors in a case like this is, can they corroborate her story, her testimony? Is there any other sort of evidence that lines up with what she is saying? So if the jury has some doubts, has some questions, and doesn't believe her by herself, is there something that they can put into evidence and something that they can put in front of the jury that will corroborate her story and help this jury trust Juliana Magalhães, the au pair who, according to her own testimony, was part of this conspiracy to kill two people? All right, let's get right to it. Let's bring in Court TV legal correspondent Kelly Craft, joining us live from outside the courthouse in Fairfax County, Virginia tonight. Let's get to some of the important evidence surrounding all of this. What was Brendan Banfield doing when Joe Ryan, the second victim in all of this, arrived at their house in Virginia?
Hey there, Vinnie. Brendan was waiting. He was waiting at a nearby McDonald's. So when you talk about the au pair and whether she had any credibility on the stand, well, she talked about this McDonald's, and she talked about Brendan Banfield waiting at the McDonald's. This was all part of the plan, and we see him. Today, the jurors got to see him waiting at the McDonald's, just like Juliana said on the stand. You can see Brendan Banfield. He drives into the McDonald's drive-thru, but then he ends up driving out of the drive-thru lane. Now, eventually, his car does return to the drive-thru lane. He ends up ordering. He pays for his food, and then he ends up driving off. But then he returns to the McDonald's. He parks his car, and he ends up going inside the McDonald's. So then we end up seeing him entering the McDonald's. You can see him there. He goes into the bathroom. And then when he leaves the bathroom, he is on the phone. Well, who is calling him? According to some call logs that were admitted into evidence, it's Juliana who's calling him, all part of the plan. According to her testimony, she said Brendan told her to call him while he waited at the McDonald's, and she was to call him when the unsuspecting man, Joseph Ryan, who answered the ad to come over and violently have a sexual encounter with Brendan Banfield's wife, arrived at the home. So Juliana called Brendan, he answered the phone, and then he knew it was time to head back home because the plan now had been put into place.
It's amazing that they've got all this video, and I know you went there. Just for trying to, how far is it from the McDonald's back to the home? How long is that trip?
Vinnie, it's not very long, so it depends on traffic and the lights. So it's about a 6 to 8 minute drive. We've done the drive, we did it there, and we did it back. So it's a commercial area where that McDonald's is. There's Chuck E. Cheese, lots of other establishments around there. And then you start driving, you drive past a church, you drive past a farm, and eventually you get into this quiet residential neighborhood. You have to go through a few windy roads, and then you get to the Banfield house. So about 6 to 8 minutes. So it's very close. Brendan Banfield was supposed to go to work that morning, but instead he was waiting at the McDonald's, just like Juliana said in her testimony, and it was all part of the plan.
All right, let's talk about the scene now, the crime scene, the double murder scene here. What did police find?
So, Vinnie, in the Commonwealth's opening statement, they talked about the blood. They said, you know, you don't have to take Juliana's word for it, but blood doesn't lie. So today, what they did is they showed the blood. They had experts come to the stand and talk about their findings on some of the clothing items as well as the backpack of Joseph Ryan. And inside that backpack were some of the items that they had talked about on this FetLife website. You're taking a look at Joseph's backpack there, and you can see the blood stains on that. That's an image of some of the items that he brought. So this was one of those FetLife websites. Christine, they were posing as Christine, according to the testimony, saying that she wanted somebody to come there and violently attack her and bring several items like the ones that you're looking at there. We also took a look at some clothing items of Brendan Banfield's and some blood that was on his jeans. In particular, some spots of blood that were on the jeans that prosecutors wanted to point out. It will be interesting to see how they wrap that up when they do their close. You see that circle around there? They really pinpointed that area of blood on Brendan Banfield's jeans. We also saw some Nike tennis shoes that the au pair was wearing, and they had blood stains on them as well, Vinnie. So that's what the prosecutor is saying. Don't take Juliana's word for it. The blood doesn't lie, and it places Brendan Banfield over his wife stabbing her.
All right, that blood stain evidence can always be very, very compelling. What else did we learn about the crime scene today?
Well, we learned a lot of things in regard to the home. We heard from someone from a window sales place. So the Banfields had contacted this man who was selling windows, and they were interested in getting a lot of the windows replaced. Now, the man on the stand couldn't tell at first who initially contacted them, but eventually he said Brendan then did contact him in July and say he wanted to replace the windows. Initially, they had gotten an estimate for just the double pane windows, but then eventually they got an estimate for triple pane windows. Why don't we go ahead and listen to what he had to say?
That is an invoice from our factory.
Okay. And as we scroll down, we see a number of windows were ordered on this invoice. Is that correct?
Yes, a large amount of windows.
Okay. And was this for the Banfield home located at 13230 Stablebrook Way?
Yes.
Okay. And do you recall when those windows were installed?
I believe they were ordered in August and installed sometime in December.
And then, Vinnie, in February is when the killings ended up taking place. We also heard from investigators today talking about their examination of the home after the murders. Sometime after the murders, they had gotten a subsequent search warrant, went back to the home, and they talked about how different the inside of that home looked. In particular, they were talking about the bedroom that Brendan Banfield once shared with his wife, Christine, because now that bedroom belonged to the au pair. She had moved her clothing inside that bedroom. She had moved her clothes from her old closet into Christine's closet. Also, a new photograph was placed next to the bed on the bedstand of Brendan as well as Juliana. So, a lot of details today. A lot of evidence was put forth for the jurors to take a look at, and it was very clear some of it was not sitting well with the jurors.
Oh, no. And I've heard, I'll get to it in a second. Like, she's moving right in, right? So that's clear. All right, we had an affair. My wife was killed, and then, I fell in love. I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me. Interesting. Great stuff tonight. Great information. Kelly Craft, thank you so much. She's in Fairfax County, Virginia, where this case continues, folks. Let's bring in our think tank. Joining me tonight, you know her as Lawyer Lori on TikTok. It's criminal defense attorney Lori Murray. Also with us, attorney Ali Benevento. And finally, criminal defense attorney Sydney Rushing with us. Okay, I've got McDonald's. Like, okay, you go to the drive-thru and you circle around and then you come back and then you go in and you go to the men's room and then, oh, I got a call. Oh boy, oh boy. How bad is that? Or is it normal? Lori, I'll start with you.
Is it normal to wait for a phone call in the bathroom of the McDonald's? I don't think so. Honestly, I'm kind of like wondering why he didn't just pretend to take a call. I mean, I think that kind of plays to his favor to say if he wants to blame this on her, which I think you theoretically could do, say that she did this whole thing herself. But I mean, the fact that she called him actually plays to his favor. Otherwise, he could have just been at the McDonald's.
Yeah, but okay. How long? If you go to the drive-thru and then you end up parking and going to the men's room at a McDonald's that's like 6 minutes from your house, what's going on here, Allie? Is that suspicious, or am I Monday morning quarterbacking this?
We might be Monday morning quarterbacking it a little bit, but I think what this does is lend credibility to her testimony, right? So before, it's just she's saying that these things happened. Here we have video of him actually being on the phone. She is claiming that the plan was for her to call him when this gentleman, I use that term loosely, arrives at the home to carry out the act. And now here we have that on video, corroborated by cell phone records and those surveillance footage. So, whether is it normal for him to go in, come out? I don't know. Maybe he had to use the restroom. Well, but I think it makes her testimony more credible about the plan.
Yeah, I agree with you there, because it corroborates to a certain extent. But the other part of this, Sydney, is like if it's not part of the plan, what a coincidence that he happened to stop at McDonald's, that he happened to go to the drive-thru, but he happened to just have to go. Like, otherwise, he would have been much, much further away from his home because he's going to work.
Right. And, you know, and I agree with Allie where there's been times that I've been traveling or, you know, something like that. And it's like, I've had to stop to use a restroom and I went to a McDonald's because it's the most public place. And, you know, you can make it look like you're going to be a customer without it actually being a big deal. So I could see that being a thing. But again, like Allie said, her story corroborates this. And like you said, he just all of a sudden just has to leave. And, you know, he doesn't. I don't know. I think it gives a lot of credibility to her testimony, and I think it's really, you know, it's something that could really hurt him. But I don't think it's absolutely the most crazy thing that he went into the McDonald's, used the restroom, and then left after. I mean, I'm sure many of us have done that. But yeah, I definitely think
on longer road trips, like this is like 6 minutes into his drive, like 6 minutes.
Well,
come on.
You know, right, but you know, there's
Maybe
that
he had a nervous stomach
that was going around, and you know, right, just couldn't make it. You know, that happens sometimes.
He was about to kill his wife. He was nervous, Vinnie.
Yeah.
Right, very nervous, very nervous.
Just like, you know, hear me out on this, though. I think that you can actually say that she Monday morning quarterback this whole thing. She knew that's what happened, and so she creates her story around that. I'm just saying that, you know, from a defense standpoint, they could make that argument if they're trying to pin this whole thing on her. Look, I was just at the McDonald's. I get this call. I don't know what's going on. And she's, you know, she creates the story around him being at McDonald's. Yes, it does corroborate her story, but it also could be the story that she created because he actually happened to be at the McDonald's. I do think it looks odd that, I don't think it looks odd that he went into the bathroom. And I've got one around the corner from my house, and I've been in to go to the bathroom at that one. So I don't think that that's the biggest surprise in this. The biggest surprise, I think, is that he was in there and didn't order anything. I mean, he was in the drive-thru, he didn't order anything, and then he came out and, you know, immediately jumped in his truck and went home.
Yeah.
Right. And Lori, just like you said, too, that's reasonable doubt, right? That's all that they have to show is that there's this other plausible thing that happened. So that gives doubt. So,
Right.
you know, the defense should definitely use that to their advantage.
Yeah, I think in his second spin around to get into the drive-thru, he does get something. So.
Oh, he did? Okay.
Yeah, but it was
That's
the
even
second.
better.
It was the second time. Like, he's very indecisive about should I or shouldn't I. But to me,
Maybe he couldn't decide between the Egg McMuffin and the sausage burrito. You don't know. We don't know these things.
yeah, exactly.
Along with that upset stomach.
I'll tell you what I do know, though, is that she moved in to the master bedroom very quickly. I know we all grieve differently. But is there any sort of an innocent explanation for that part of the story?
Well, they were both grieving, right? So this is something that if this was just some random thing, right, this would be something that they could argue was a trauma thing. They trauma bonded over this, and you know that they just kind of sought that comfort in one another, and it turned to something else. I don't see this as being as like the craziest thing, or that would lend to like direct motive for this happening. If this didn't occur the way that they're suggesting it occurred, right? It's odd, because then, the police talked about how they found lingerie in there, the photos of them together now. That hurts them a little bit, but I don't think that's the most harmful thing, because like you said, everyone grieves differently.
Yeah. They did have a trip to New York. They spent New Year's together in the bathtub and memorialized it on camera. Do you guys want to see it? No, you don't want to see it.
No, thank you.
So the affair was happening already. To me, it demonstrates the seriousness of the affair, that it's not just a little fling, that there are plans here. All of a sudden, they're playing house. Mom's gone, but there's a new mom. And she's already been taking care of the child. Oh, there we go. Happy New Year.
Thanks.
You notice what he's not wearing on his left hand there?
A wedding ring.
His wedding ring. Yeah, I just thought I'd point that out. Doesn't mean anything, but
I'm still going with the whole she planned this whole thing. I mean, at least that's the defense. I mean, look at the transformation between this girl. You might look at her on the stand right now and think she's not got all that sophistication. She's not the planner. But when you look back at the photos, I mean, the difference, I mean, the mighty have fallen, okay?
Wow.
The mighty have fallen pretty far.
when we come back.
I think that when you look at the difference, yeah.
When we come back, I've got some BDSM messages that were shown to the jury. This is how they lured Joseph Ryan there that morning. I've got that for you, plus coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, prosecutors say Paul Canaro murdered his own brother Keith Canaro because he got caught stealing money and was about to lose his business. Is this case all about the money? Tonight, we investigate. Did an affair lead to double murder?
The Commonwealth's Attorney's Office has secured an indictment against Brendan Banfield for the murder of his wife, Christine, and the murder of Mr. Ryan.
Prosecutors allege the defendant planned to run away with the family's au pair. So he killed his wife and another man.
He was saying, I'm gonna kill her, I'm gonna kill her.
It's a case of sex, lies, and deadly deception.
The Au Pair Affair murder trial. Live coverage continues Tuesday morning on Court TV.
Do you recall what device he used to create the FetLife account?
It was the laptop.
And when you say the laptop, are you talking about Christine's laptop?
Yes.
Okay. And do you recall the name of the profile that the defendant created for the FetLife account?
Anastasia Knight.
And was there a photograph added to that profile?
Yes.
Who is the photograph of?
It's Christine's body in a bathing suit.
Did he say why he picked Joe after interacting with him on FetLife?
It was mostly because he made Brendan feel confident enough that he would be the person to play the role they needed the person to play.
So this is a big, big part of this alleged plot, and you have the au pair testifying about what they did. They went onto this FetLife, which is like Fetish Life website, pretending to be Christine, and they used the name Anastasia and connected with a guy named Joe Ryan, and they start communicating. We have those communications. Producers took a look at it, and they're going to voice it for you. So you'll hear one voice reading Anastasia's messages and one reading Joe Ryan's messages. And this is from a few days before the double homicide up until the morning of the double homicide. What was exchanged in here was very raw, very disturbing. But what's actually more disturbing is the stuff that we left out, because we couldn't put it on television. We could not put it on television. The exchange of information. So here, this will give you a flavor for how they allegedly lured Joseph Ryan over to the house to go there with a knife and walk in and go up to the bedroom and sort of play act this rape fantasy. Take a listen.
I'm looking forward to Friday.
I was just going to ask you if you are excited for Friday.
We are going to have an interesting size disparity. I'm semi-erect right now. It's been difficult to not...
Because I am super excited and looking forward to meet your aggressive Dom side.
Yeah, so my limited blood play experience. I did it once 9 years ago. My ex was Polly. We were getting back together, and one of her roommates cut her too deeply and put her in the ER because he's a moron. So we discussed a scene. I used a razor blade to do long, shallow cuts along her back and down her legs.
Sounds intense. How long did it take her to heal?
She masturbated while I did it. Began, too. I don't know, a few days max.
Were you still planning to cut off my clothes?
I may rip them. I haven't put a ton of thought into it because I don't know what you'll be wearing. Aside from being pinned down, what are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to my long hair being pulled and dragging me into position, the different types of spankings you will give me. The plastic wrap and the squeeze it gives is also thrilling. I'll message you in the morning when you can come in.
So we discussed some things. Stomping repeatedly or kicking repeatedly erratically will get me to get you out. I don't want to do this if you're having a panic attack or injured or something, right?
I probably will be a bit panicked. I think that is part of the fun of it. Are my hands going to be free that I can snap?
If you're plastic wrapped well, maybe not.
Makes sense.
I can just restrain you with chains if you'd prefer, but if you want to be completely immobile...
I want to fully experience the scene. I don't want the scene mood to be broken.
You'd like to be untied at 10:30, 11?
Let's say 10:30. Oh, can't wait. Let me know when you leave and ETA.
I'm going to the Walmart first to pick up lube and a second pack of saran wrap. I'll be leaving shortly. The drive with the detour is 30 minutes. Unless you have extra lube and saran wrap.
That's fine. My lube needs to be replaced. I don't love it.
Okay, I'll grab some. Everything else is sorted. I made a spreader bar last night, knife packed, zip ties, locks, chains, etc.
You're the best.
Leaving in 10-ish. Won't show up till 7:20 to 7:30.
See you soon.
Do some stretching. Leaving now. 7:30 ETA. Traffic.
Okay, I'll be waiting for you.
And then he showed up. Unbeknownst to him, Christine had no idea what was happening. So think about the situation and the allegations against Brendan Banfield. He's accused of luring a man over to pretend to be raping his wife. But if you look at what happened that morning from the perspective of Christine, one, a stranger is in my house trying to rape me. My husband comes in and saves me, and then my husband murders me. Let's bring back in our guests. Lori Murray, Ali Benevento, Sydney Rushing with us. This is why this is such a sick and twisted plot, Ali, when you talk about how this was all put together and looking at it from the victim's perspective. To me, that's like, it is cruel.
And terrifying. And look at how calculated, whether that was him or whether this was the au pair actually posing and interacting on these messages. Look at how careful they were to make sure that every detail was in place, that she would be bound, that she didn't want to break the scene or have him break character. I can't get over that there is no safeguard in place when he gets to the door. I mean, I know she wanted to be in character, right? To make sure that he's at the right house, that he has the right person, that this is in fact the person with whom he's been communicating online. I know they sent her picture, and to me, that insistence upon not breaking character or not breaking from the scene just makes it all the more eerie, because you're right, this poor woman was probably terrified on multiple different levels and had absolutely no idea what was actually going on. But whoever sent those messages was so careful to make sure that every single detail was taken care of so that nothing went wrong.
Does this seem like a plan of a 22-year-old person or 21-year-old person who just came to this country and is an au pair? Or does it sound like the work of someone who's in law enforcement and thought long and hard about it? What do you think, Sydney?
So this is, I mean, it looks like the perfect setup, right? Because like Ali said, all of the details in the message. Don't break scene. If you're stomping and kicking, like, that'll be, the sign of XYZ to stop or what have you. And they're like, no, don't break character. I'll probably do that anyways. And it really was setting it up to look terrible for this person, right? They made him look like the prime suspect in this. But there was a lot of planning that goes into it. So again, I don't think it's like even the planning of law enforcement. I think it's somebody who's watched one too many crime documentaries or watched movies and thought that this was the perfect way to get away with it. Have the guy appear at McDonald's so that way he's on camera, right? He's not there at the scene. They had this other guy as the fall guy. It seems like the perfect plan that just didn't go to plan for them.
Laurie, your thoughts?
I'm still replaying those text messages in my head and trying to get over all of that. I said that before we even came on air, that this poor woman, pure terror right before she was killed. And then you think about this guy who was basically an innocent bystander. I mean, he was a patsy. He came in and was expecting a good time, and boy, did he not get the good time. The whole thing is it's almost diabolical is what it is. I've never seen anything quite so planned out and planned just on this level of, what is the word I'm looking for? I don't even know. I've never seen anything where you come up with this kind of in-depth scheme to make it look so, I'm the hero. I'm not the murderer. I'm the hero. I was trying to help my wife. I ended up killing both of them while he's killing her. it is really a well thought out plan. If this is indeed what it was, which, them's the facts, it's a very well thought out plan. And it could work.
You're right. I didn't think about that aspect of it, right? Part of his plan is to make himself the hero who gets there just a little bit too late. I almost was able to save. Now he's the grieving widower, right? And oh my goodness, if I had just gotten there quicker, if I had left for work a little bit later, I could have stopped this man. And oh my goodness, the heartbreak. But it's diabolical. Take a listen to a little more testimony from the au pair, because here she's talking about when they would log on to have these communications with Joe Ryan.
Was Christine home or not home when the two of you used FetLife?
She was home.
Always?
Yes.
Why?
Because he always mentioned for us to make sure to log in on the account when she was also home. So it would have, throughout the investigation, it would have been very clear that, like, whenever she was using the profile, she was home, and he knew how the investigation would go.
So it seemed like he thought about almost everything, or they thought about almost everything, because that's a big part, right? Oh, she's logging up. She's not even home, but she is home. I mean, they're logging on her tablet when she's home. They're logging onto each other when Christine is home as well. This is bold and brazen type of behavior, Allie. I can't imagine that a jury is going to give him the benefit of any doubt.
Yeah, this is some very intricate planning over a long period of time. I mean, like you just said, to think that they have thought of every single detail down to, we better make sure she's home. We're doing this on our Wi-Fi. We don't ever want any, doorbell camera footage or traffic cameras to catch to the fact that she wasn't home at the time, or her cell phone's not here at the time that we're sending these messages. Just kind of goes to show you that this was a plan that was clearly in place over a long period of time, and a whole lot of detail went into it, a whole lot of planning. And I agree. I think the word is diabolical. Whoever it was, diabolical is the word.
All right, the trial continues in Virginia next week. Think Tank staying with us. When we come back, another big story we've been tracking out of Ohio. Monique and Spencer Tepe. There's the ex-husband. He's been charged with double murder. We're learning a little bit more about that first marriage. That's next.
This individual, Spencer, works with me, and he did not show up to work this morning, and we cannot get a hold of him or his family. He is always on time, and he would contact us if there was any issues whatsoever. And I just don't know how else to say this. Like, we're very, very concerned because this is very out of character. And we can't get in touch with his wife, which is probably the more concerning thing.
I can hear kids inside, and I swear I think I heard one yell, but we can't get in. At this point, I don't know if I need to break the door in or just get in the house or what.
Our boss did not report for work. We haven't been able to get a hold of him for 3 hours. We are on site, and we can hear kids inside.
The body, our friend wasn't answering his phone. We just did a wellness check. We just came here, and he appears dead. There's blood. He's laying next to his bed, off of his bed, and there's blood.
Murdered inside their own home, Spencer and Monique Tepe. And right away, when Spencer didn't show up to work, everybody was very, very concerned because he was always there. He's a dentist. He's got patients waiting. He's going to be there. They called Monique. Monique wasn't answering. They called 911, and finally that morning, they got in the house and they saw what had happened to this couple who got married on January 30th, 2021, in their home in Columbus. The same home where they were murdered is where they got married. It's the same home where they were raising their children, 1 and 4 years old, who were upstairs in the next rooms, right next door to the primary bedroom, as their parents are getting murdered. They're on the same floor. They're there. So Monique, this is her second marriage. Her first marriage was to her college boyfriend, and there he is. She looks a little uncomfortable there, to be honest, but was married in 2015. The marriage did not last long. It was officially ended in 2017, but they were already living in separate states. This was a marriage of months, not years. And now Michael McKee, Dr. Michael McKee, the man who married Monique. Oh. And this photo, as you can read up there, is from Phyllis Williams from Facebook via the New York Post. Michael McKee was in court accused of the double murder. And everyone's wondering why. He was married in 2015. The marriage lasted months. There were no children. The divorce was finalized in 2017. This is so many years ago. More than 8 years ago, the divorce was final. It's more than a decade after the marriage. Spencer Tepe's brother-in-law, Rob Mislaw, told ABC News Good Morning America that Michael McKee was emotionally abusive to Monique and that she would do anything to get away from him.
Self and many others were well aware of kind of the negative impact that he had on her. She was willing to do anything to get out of there.
It was an ugly first marriage. And there's a reason why it only lasted months, and she got out of there. But again, everyone's like, what? Why now? Why now? She's happily married. They're raising a family. Still with me, Lori Murray, Ali Benevento, Sydney Rushing. Lori, is this shocking that someone who's divorced years ago, for whatever reason, now allegedly strikes like a decade after the wedding, more than 8 years after the divorce was finalized?
It's absolutely shocking. And when I first started looking at this story, and this was back when it first happened, the thing that got me the most is that somebody came in and did this with those kids there. And also when they arrested this guy, the thing that stands and sticks with me is that this guy is not your average Joe. And I know people will say, well, why can't people of all walks of life commit these heinous crimes? But this guy is a vascular surgeon. I mean, he has everything going for him and cannot get over his ex-wife from 10 years ago. It's baffling to me. And this is a brutal crime. I mean, clearly he has no problem with the sight of blood because of what he does. So he goes in and clearly aims all of his anger at Spencer instead of her. So I'm not sure what set him off. I'm interested to hear. I understand he's going to be pleading not guilty like everybody does at the very beginning, but I'm interested and hope that at some point we'll get some kind of motive out of this. What was going on in this guy's head? Maybe somebody from his world will come forward and tell us how he is and has been in the last 10 years, because we really know nothing about him other than he is a successful vascular surgeon in Chicago.
Yeah, I think that's another part of this investigation, Sydney, don't you think?
Yes, and that's another thing too, is I know that from a few things that I read is that he has actually a medical malpractice suit happening in another state. And so that makes me wonder if when they were married, did he get a life insurance policy on her? And so he's hoping that by, this happening, he's going to cash out and be able to cover his debts there. Or was he just so emotionally upset about how her life was going? It looked so perfect probably to him that she was happy, that they had kids, and that he only was married to her for 7 months, that he didn't make her happy. So it's like one of those things. Did he have like a psychotic break or something? There's a lot of questions to be asked here, but those are the first few things that are coming to my mind about why he would do this so much later after their divorce.
Yeah. I mean, the prosecutors, of course, they don't have to prove motive, but the jurors here, I think, are going to be asking the same questions that we're asking. Why? Make it make sense. What did he think about her all these years? Did they keep in contact? Was he obsessed with her? Or exactly like Sydney said, was he jealous? She got married to another doctor and had what by all accounts looked like a beautiful family. Perhaps he was jealous and obsessive over her all of these years. But I do think that the prosecution, even though they don't have to prove motive, right? They're going to have to answer these questions for the jury because we all have them as well.
Now, they've got some ballistic evidence. The police chief mentioned that the other day. We have less than a minute left here. To me, that is almost game over if this ballistic evidence is what the chief says it is. If he's got the gun and it matches the casings and it matches the ballistics from the scene, he's got nowhere to go, Lori.
He's got nowhere to go with the gun if the ballistics do match like they say, and the vehicle that they traced to the scene belonging to him. He's cooked.
He is cooked. Well,
and that's his. Yeah, I was gonna say his vehicle is 400 miles away from home. Just so happens to be in this area with the ballistics. It's a lot here.
There's a lot. Sydney Rushing, Ali Benevento, and Lori Murray. Great to have you on. Thanks so much. We'll see you again soon. When we come back, I'll reveal something else you need to know tonight. Plus, coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, a burning home in Colts Neck, New Jersey revealed 4 dead bodies, not from the fire, but from a gun and a knife. Did Paul Canero wipe out his brother's family for money and lifestyle? Tonight, we investigate.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates, tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
The tragic murder of Keith Canero and his entire family.
This one is the most brutal case that I've seen in my experience here.
The Mansion Murders Trial. Live coverage weekday mornings, 8/7 Central on Court TV.
Welcome back. Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Let's take a look at the big board. Some key testimony today in the case against Adrian Gonzalez, the Uvalde police officer, former officer on trial for not responding to that school shooting. Today, Melody Flores, an instructional aide at Robb Elementary School, testified about what she saw and what she said. Take a listen.
How long had you been talking to the police officer when you heard the continued gunshots at the south end?
A couple of seconds.
Just a second or two.
Maybe 3 to 5.
And how many shots did you hear?
Couple.
Okay. And when you heard the shots, did that cause a reaction from you? Did you say anything to the officer?
Like I said, I kept telling him that he needed to be stopped. He was going before he goes into the Fort Bakery.
When you told the officer to go in, did he go in?
No.
What did he do?
Yes, he just stayed there. Like I said, that's when I ran to see if everybody else was in and find a place.
He just stayed there?
I believe so.
And about how many times did you urge him to go in and do something?
Like I said, it was a couple of times.
So the testimony of this witness really crucial. It kind of goes to the heart of the allegations against this officer in his response or lack of response to this school shooter at the elementary school. Obviously, this case still continuing right here on Court TV. Okay, right now we need your help. Please take a look at your television screens. There's a missing child who needs your help. This is Ivy Costello. Ivy is just 13 years old, missing from Sparks, Nevada. If you see Ivy, pick up the phone, make a call, make a difference, 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or you can call the Sparks, Nevada Police Department. That number is on your screen right now. Let's see if we can get Ivy to a safe place tonight. Don't go anywhere. We have another hour of live true crime. Vinnie Politan Investigates is next. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids.